Welcome to the next session of discrete time Fourier transforms. I hope by now we had simplified discrete time Fourier transform by taking help of discrete time cosine transform and discrete time sine transform. This is for your understanding. Beyond a point, there is no need now for discussing it separately once again, but let it be very clear that I once again write the discrete time Fourier transform, which is now universally accepted transform, transforms a sequence xn which can be of either finite or infinite length. Xn is either a real or an imaginary or a complex number. In general, xn is a complex number, and that is transformed into a function of continuous variable omega. This x omega is also a complex number. So, input, which is a sequence, is a complex number. It is a sequence of complex numbers is transformed into a function which is complex. The sequence of complex number is a discrete sequence over n, and its transform is a function which is a complex number over a real variable omega. And one more important point, in the previous session, maybe in the first semester also or before mid semester, we have discussed that a input xt gets transformed into x omega. This is called as Fourier transform, and this is discrete time Fourier transform. What is the difference is that the Fourier transform is also a function of omega. Omega is also continuous, but it is not a repetitive function, not a periodic function, whereas this x omega is a periodic function. Means the value of x omega means if we have got omega equal to omega 1 and omega, or we can have x of omega 1 is equal to x of omega 2. This is possible in this case if, and this means that omega 1 is equal to omega 2, means the function will not get same. For this to be true for any general omega 1 and omega 2, omega 1 has to be equal to omega 2. It is not a periodic function, whereas in this case x of omega 1 is equal to x of omega 2. This is possible when omega 1 minus omega 2 mod is an integral multiple of 2 pi. Means whatever is the function x omega, it can be plotted in 2D. We have to plot its real part and imaginary part separately. In that case, it repeats after interval of 2 pi. So, meaningful range is any range of 2 pi, and normally the range taken is minus pi to pi. So, the discrete sequence and continuous function both get transformed into a Fourier transform. The continuous function gets, what is the formula for that transformation? It is an integration. Integration of xt e raised to minus j omega t dt is the formula for x omega, and for this the formula is its summation n equal to minus infinity to infinity x of n e raised to minus j omega n. And as n is an integer, here t is continuous, a real number, any real number, whereas here n is any integer, and as it is integer, the when we find that omega, we take omega 1 and then we take omega 2, which is equal to omega 1 plus 2 pi. In that case, since it is n, so why it happens? What is the reason? That e raised to minus j omega t, e raised to minus j omega t value is on one hand, t is a real number, and here we have got e raised to minus j omega n, where n is an integer. How it makes difference? Suppose if we take e raised to minus j omega 1 n, case 1, here we take e raised to minus j omega 1 t. Now, if I take omega 2 equal to omega 1 plus 2 pi, then e raised to minus j omega 2 n becomes e raised to minus j omega 1 plus 2 pi n, that is equal, because of that we can write it on this side. This we can expand e raised to minus j omega 1 n multiplied by e raised to minus j 2 pi n, and this is 1. E raised to minus j 2 pi n is 1, and as it is 1, it is e raised to minus j omega n. So, e raised to minus j omega 2 n is equal to e raised to minus j omega 1 n, and j omega 2 n are equal, even though omega 1 is not equal to omega 2. So, it is called as periodic function, means in periodic function the values of function repeat when we go by integral multiple of periods. So, meaningful range is only 2 pi, whereas here no such thing is there. This function is not a periodic function. Now, the discrete time Fourier transform need not exist for everything. We shall deliberate that later on, because if we start the question of existence at the beginning, then we will be just like, suppose if a question asked for students, why do you exist? Then in that case, this question will loop yourself, and you may not be, if somebody is sensitive person, he will not be able to think further. Therefore, we defer the questions of existence and let us work with the things for which the function transform exists. So, with this now we have x of omega is equal to summation x of n e raised to minus j omega n equal to minus infinity to infinity. This is the discrete time Fourier transform. Now, once this is known, its basis, that is how it comes from cosine and sine, I have told. With this now you can solve many examples in a standard way, means xn is given and you have to apply formula and you can get the result. So, we will naturally discuss these things, but right now instead of spending some time on a very simple task, in the flow I thought it is better to discuss about the inverse. So, we had discussed last time that the discrete time cosine transform is not independently invertible, because it is same for two sequences. So, it has got two inverses. Discrete time sine transform also has got two inverses, and then if we consider them together, that is, a given sequence results into one discrete time cosine transform and one discrete time sine transform, then both of them, the combination is invertible. Discrete time cosine transform is not individually invertible, discrete time sine transform is not individually invertible. Combination of discrete time cosine transform and discrete time sine transform is fully invertible, and this combination is called as discrete time Fourier transform, given by this formula. So, given xn you can find x omega. Now, the question is how to find xn from x omega. So, here xn is given, x omega is found out. Now, we have to find out x n from x omega. So, somehow you should get x n on left hand side and something which will include x omega on right hand side. Then how do we start? It is a very interesting issue. Now, since the classroom is not live classroom, it is not possible that we can wait for some time, ask students to derive the formula and then proceed. Those who wish that, oh, I could have derived the formula, then what they can do at this, it is a YouTube lecture. So, at this point they can pause the lecture, think on their own, find out something and then resume the lecture and verify whether what is found out by them is exactly the same which we are discussing afterwards. Okay, now, so as I had already stated, the logic of transform x n is a discrete function over n, then for transforming a discrete sequence into a continuous function, what is the crux? Any transform for which the input is discrete and output is continuous, it is a weighted sum of discrete sequence wherein the weights which we have discussed as q. So, weight is another sequence. So, weights, that is q n, includes the other variable omega. The transform is function over omega. So, input is a sequence over n is to be transformed into function over omega. In that case, the logic, the crux for transformation is the function over omega, that is the transform, is the weighted sum of the discrete sequence, that is x n is the sequence and this is q n now, that is for dt ct and dt st we have combined here. So, the sequence and weight. So, weighted sequence, it is some weighted sum of the input samples. It is for transforming discrete to continuous function, because why sum is to be taken? Because the logic is we are transforming a sequence over n into a function over omega. So, the transform function over omega should not consist of n. So, we should consider, we should just like now, actually what is the logic behind this transformation? I will give a simple thing, it is not invertible transformation. Suppose if you are a good student and you get very good marks, grades you may not understand immediately, you get very good marks, say at standard 10th it is there, you get very good marks in many subjects and only less marks in one subject. Then what is your purpose, what is the objective of when marks are asked to you, what will you do? Obviously you will not lie, but you will tell the total percentage. So, when total percentage is taken, individual identity is lost. So, in which subject how many marks, that is never revealed. So, you tell total, but this is not invertible transform. So, from marks you can find total, but from total you can't find marks. When the transform is to be invertible, what do we require is that the transform should not contain n. It should be a function of omega, but no information in the given sequence x n should be lost. Means from x omega you should be able to get back x n. Means x omega should contain the information in a form which is not obviously understood, but the information is there. Now we have to retrieve that information to get back xn from x omega. So now what is given? X omega is given. What is to be found out? Xn is to be found out. So what that xn will be now? In case of discrete to continuous, it was weighted sum. Now it is scaled integration. I am using the word, instead of weight I am using the word scale, because it is continuous. So the answer is of the type x omega, its integration. So some function I write as, let us say, g omega comma n d omega, and what are the limits? Limits are not infinity to infinity, minus infinity to infinity. Why? Because the function is a periodic function. What is one period? Of 2 pi. So you can take 0 to 2 pi, you can take 0 to 2 pi if you feel that is convenient, but in most of the times you will find that it is, we take minus pi to pi. So from this you get back. So xn will be this, that is g omega n. So what is it is? I again repeat, because that is very fundamental. Otherwise you can go in today's online world, the purpose, there is no purpose for lecture otherwise, because everything slides and all that, all books are available online. Now there is a competition of online publishers to give everything free. Only thing is that it is just like you want to take food and there are many people coming up with delicious dishes. You have to have time to eat that. Same thing is happening with you. So the purpose of lecture is to have the fundamental themes to be clear, otherwise everything is available. So that is not the issue now. So a discrete sequence is transformed into a continuous function by weighted sum, whereas continuous function is transformed into a discrete sequence by scaled integration. Why I am using the word scaled? Because it is continuous, it is discrete. So these are discrete weights. It is now a, means these weights are defined only for n. For what we can say, non-integer n, the weights are not defined. So n is integer here, weight is integer. Here omega is continuous, n is there, but omega will vary. So for various omegas, weights vary. Here remember, here also n is there, here also n was there, but weights were for different n's and the weights were discrete. Here weights actually are for different omega and omega is continuous, therefore instead of weights I use the word scaled. So weighted sum of discrete sequence, scaled integration of continuous function. Now we will use a very interesting term, and I will not tell the formula. If I tell the formula, there is no purpose no purpose will be served, because it is for you to find the inverse. At least transform also you should have found, but once transform is told, you can find the inverse. I make a small change to make it more easy to find. I will use the index m here, because that is not so important. Why I use the index m? Because I want to use both together, so index confusion should not be there. So index is m. So any index you can have. So function of a discrete sequence is transformed into a continuous function. The continuous function I am transforming back into a discrete sequence. So m is an integer which can have any value, same is here. So you will understand why I use the letter m. So now how I will select g omega m to find inverse. So let To be precise, I should not have even told that. This also should have been found by you. But anyway, now that much time luxury we don't have. So, xm is a scaled integration of x omega. X omega was weighted sum of xn, which we know. Now, from scaled integration we find inverse. So, what is to be found? Finding out inverse formula means finding out these weights. So, that once this is replaced, the formula is there. So, let us start now. I hope I am trying my level best, assuming that you will understand. So, we write x of m on left hand side is equal to minus pi to pi x omega g omega m d omega. So, this is the formula of inverse, where we have to find g omega comma m. Now, how do we find that? So, what is x omega that you know? What is x omega? That it is having a formula. So, we put that again. So, it is very interesting manner we will develop. Those who want to claim that they can do on their own should put a pause button, derive it and then verify. So, that is equal to minus pi to pi. What is x omega? X omega is summation xn e raised to minus j omega n over entire n. Minus pi to pi. This we have not done anything new, only we have put the value of x of omega. So, there is summation and integration, summation and integration. Now, what we want? We finally want xm here. So, see, let us spend some time on discussing various aspects. This is summation, this is integration, and finally I want value of single m. So, how do I do it? So, what we can do, this summation you can write separately. So, x0 e raised to minus j omega 0, x1 e raised to minus j omega 1, x2 e raised to minus j omega 2. This summation you can write separately, and so I write it instead of. So, it is, we write it. I hope that you will understand. I am using different colors deliberately. Minus pi to pi. So, this summation I can write as xn e raised to minus j omega n, xn e raised to minus j omega n equal to minus infinity to minus infinity, then 0, 1, 2, 3. So, this xn e raised to minus j omega n, this I can say something as Pn just for time being. So, I can write, so what I can write actually is plus P0 plus P1 P minus 1 plus and on both sides g omega comma m d omega. So, what we can do in integration, we have got summation, multiplication. So, what we do is this integration we can find separately for each term. We can find integration separately for each term. Means what? In the book you will find they interchange the order, but you should understand how. So this is, so this I can have this multiplied by this. So I can further have minus pi to pi bracket. This p term is of, actually just for understanding I have put p minus 1 g omega comma m plus p 0 g omega comma 0 plus p1, sorry, not it is m is different, it is n, g omega comma m d and plus so on and d omega. So what does it mean? So this d omega also you can bring inside. So entire product you can bring inside, or you can do it at the next stage. So in the next stage what we do? In the next stage, this means what? This means this is minus infinity, minus pi to pi I am just writing too simple. So this is different integration. So what is the theme? Summation, integration over summation is summation of integrations. So then we can write it like this. So this, all these steps I have written to give you the theme that you can reverse the orders of integration and summation, because that is the crux of this entire situation. So I rewrite again. So this is, that is equal to minus pi to pi x omega, the value is there, that is summation n equal to minus infinity to infinity x n e raised to minus j omega n. This some function g omega comma n d omega. So by reversing the orders of integration, so what we get? We get summation minus summation n equal to minus infinity to infinity integration minus pi to pi x n e raised to minus j omega n, this is m, sorry, g, because there will be confusion, and this we want to be xm. So xn e raised to minus j omega n multiplied by some function such that, now what should happen? This I want to be xm. So this integration and this summation is there, this integration is there, and this I want to be for single value of m. So this integration, what that, see now, this summation is there, integration is there, and my target, my objective is I should get a value of that sequence for single m. So this entire integration should now be such that it should be 0 for all the values except n equal to m. For n equal to m, it should be non-zero, and that should be xm, and for all other values of m, it should be 0. Again repeat, the DTFT is found out as weighted sum. This weighted sum is to undergo scaled integration. So the scaled integration should be such that it should become 0 except for a single value of n which is equal to m, and for all other values of n it should become 0. So, what kind of this you should choose, the weight you should choose here is e raised to minus j omega n. So, you should choose this of the type, this e raised to minus j omega n, you should choose this of the type e raised to j omega m. When e raised to minus j omega n and e raised to j omega m multiply, what we get? We get e raised to minus j omega n minus m, and this e raised to minus j omega n minus m, when we integrate it, it is very interesting. I will explain how it works. This e raised to minus j omega n minus m has got two things, for n equal to m and for n other than m. For n equal to m, what we have got? For n equal to m, this becomes entire the index becomes 0, so this becomes 1. And when it becomes 1, integration of 1 d omega for minus pi to pi is 2 pi. So, this integration becomes 2 pi. Which integration? This one. And this is xn. So, for m equal to n, this is xn means this is xm, and for n other than m it is 0. So, what we can write this as, again this summation is there. So, this internal thing is summation, we write n equal to minus infinity to infinity minus pi to pi x of n e raised to minus j omega n e raised to j omega m I am using d omega. The weight I am using is e raised to minus j omega m, and now we found that this integration resulted to 2 pi. So, that 2 pi product multiply will come, that I do not want. So, weight I choose is upon 2 pi. So, the weight which I choose is, that is the weight function or scaling which I do is by e raised to j omega m upon 2 pi. So, what does it mean? That this 2 pi is constant, so it will come out directly. So, we proceed further as, so it is very peculiar. So, this summation is, I can write directly, that is equal to summation n equal to minus infinity to infinity. Summation can come, 2 pi can come directly outside also, but I keep it here, 1 upon 2 pi integration of minus integration from minus pi to pi x n e raised to minus j omega n minus m d omega. So, this is summation. So, what I do, I now this summation I do two parts, for n equal to m and for n not equal to m. So, what it is now, what is this is? This is xm. So, this is equal to, for n equal to m, now summation will not be there because it is single term. So, this is 1 upon 2 pi integration of x n equal to m minus pi to pi, and this is e raised to minus j omega, I write 0 d omega, plus this summation I write n equal to minus infinity to infinity, and below I write n not equal to m, n not equal to m. n not equal to m, it is xn e raised to minus j omega n minus m d omega, n minus m d omega. So, now this x n is not part of integration, so it can also come out. So, this I write as 1 upon 2 pi and 1 upon 2 pi, 1 upon 2 pi is common for both. So, plus 1 upon 2 pi you can write here also. So, 1 upon 2 pi from minus pi to pi x m, this is 1, so d omega plus 1 upon 2 pi n equal to minus infinity to infinity, x n comes out, x n minus pi to pi e raised to minus j omega n minus m d omega. So, this is equal to, now what is this? It is 1 upon 2 pi x m d integral of d omega is omega from minus pi to pi plus this is 1 upon 2 pi summation n equal to 0 minus infinity other than n not equal to m, minus infinity to infinity n not equal to m x n, and what this integration would be? What this integration would be? This integration will be e raised to, it is e raised to minus j, it is e raised to minus j omega n minus m upon minus into bracket n minus m minus pi to pi, and obviously this numerator will be 0, numerator will be 0 and denominator will not be 0, means this answer will be 0. And for n equal to m, what happens? For n equal to m, both numerators and denominators become 0. So, it is indeterminate form in general, and for this specific case it is 2 pi. So, this bracket, if we put, if we will not use this one, it is general integration, right. So, this will be, this is e raised to minus j omega into n minus m, it is a periodic function. So, for a value of pi and minus pi, this will be same, means how it will be same? It is not same that way, we can make it very clear, so that there should not be any confusion. So, obviously for x m is equal to this 1 upon 2 pi x m into 2 pi. So, this 2 pi gets cancelled, it is x m. Then you will say x m equal to x m means what? We wanted that because x m was a general formula for g omega comma m, and if we use g omega comma m as 1 upon 2 pi e raised to j omega m, this answer we get, and plus this is 1 upon 2 pi summation n equal to n minus infinity to infinity n not equal to m x n, this is e raised to minus j pi n minus m minus e raised to minus j minus pi n minus m upon this is m minus n. and then it is minus pi. So, straight away it becomes, this is omega is here. So, e raised to minus j pi, this minus goes here, and we get what we get here as e raised to minus j pi n minus m, e raised to, we will use, and this is m minus n upon m minus n, upon m minus n. So, we use m minus n, this we use, I will explain it to the end. So, e raised to minus j pi, let m minus n be equal to p, n minus m be equal to p, minus e raised to j pi p upon minus p. E raised to minus j pi p minus e raised to j pi p upon p, this is 0, because what happens, e raised to minus j pi, you can write any way, you can write by any other method also, or simply, since this is minus pi and this is pi, it is going to remain same, but I will derive it. So, e raised to minus j pi p is what? Cos pi p plus j sin, to be cos minus pi p plus j sin minus pi p. This is minus cos pi p, this minus into bracket, plus j sin pi p. So, what is going to happen? These two are going to cancel each other, that you can very easily verify, and we get it as, so it is what we will be getting, e raised to minus j pi p minus e raised to j pi p cos minus pi p plus j sin minus pi p minus into bracket cos pi p plus j sin pi p. So, you will be getting somewhat confused here still. What is that confusion? That confusion is, it does not get cancelled, then I will write again. So, cos minus pi p is cos pi p plus j sin minus pi p is minus j sin pi p. This minus cos pi p, and this is minus j sin pi p. So, you will say this is getting cancelled, and I am getting minus 2j sin pi p minus, and this is upon minus p. So, what is the answer actually? It is minus 2j sin pi p upon minus p. So, minus minus plus. So, 2j sin pi p upon p, 2j sin pi p upon p. So, how you claim that it is going to cancel? It is not so easy. Why you are saying it that it gets cancelled? Actually, there is one more. This in the denominator j comes, j comes, j comes, j comes in the denominator. So that j gets cancelled. So it is 2 sine pi p upon p, 2 sine pi p upon p. So where it is getting cancelled? So this first term what we did. So I write again next last one, xm is equal to, this is xm plus, what is this? This is summation of n equal to minus infinity to infinity, that xn will also be there into 2 that bracket integration 2 sine pi p upon p. So what is the case? Here the theme is p is an integer, and as p is an integer, sine pi p will always be 0. Sine pi p will always be 0, and this p is non-zero. Why? Because m is not equal to n. So this term would be 0, and this is, so with this, see, this the term don't cancel actually. So we get the answer as, it is equal to xm plus 0, that is equal. So xm is, this is xm, that is the correct answer. In fact, there was no need to take it two separately. There was no need actually. I took it deliberately so as to simplify. Otherwise also, otherwise what we can have, this is a general term. So what it is? It is actually n equal to minus infinity to infinity xn 2 sine pi p upon p, 2 sine, and 1 upon 2 pi is outside, 1 upon 2 pi is outside, 1 upon 2 pi is outside. So this is the final answer, to be very precise. Xm is equal to this. You can just by what we have done, that changing the order, we took summation first, we took inside integration inside and calculate integration. So it is 2 summation xn 2 sine pi p upon p. This 2 I can take outside. So if I take this 2 outside, it will be like this. This 2 gets cancelled. So it is 1 upon pi. So 1 upon pi summation over this. Now what is p? P is n minus m. P is n minus, where p is n minus m. And now, so there was no need to calculate separately, but what I did was a very, it's non-classical, means you can't have it the separate formula for n equal to m and n not equal to m. Formula should be same. The formula results into 0 for n equal to m, other than m, and non-zero for n equal to m. So that also we can prove. So here, if p is not, if p is n minus m, in that case, if p is non-zero, so this is this, and if p is non-zero, this is going to be 0. For non-zero p, this is going to be 0. This is going to be non-zero. So means then I again write, we go for sine pi p upon p. What this is? This is equal to 0 if p is not equal to 0. And what this is equal to? Sine pi p upon p is, you must know that sine kx upon k is equal to k. Sine kx upon k is equal to k. So sine pi p, to be very precise, what you can do? how do you find it out? You can multiply, so you can have pi p also here, pi is also here. So in that case, this sin pi p upon pi p when p is equal to 0, when sin x upon x for x equal to 0, that is 1. So it is answer is pi. So or we can no need to go to this much simplicity. Sin pi p upon p is equal to 0. Sin pi p upon p is equal to 0 when p not equal to 0, and this is equal to sin pi p upon p is equal to pi if p equal to 0. So in this summation term, p is 0 when m equal to n. So that time this answer is pi. So when p is 0, when n is equal to m. So for n equal to m, the term becomes 1 upon pi xn pi, that is equal to xn, and as m equal to n, as n equal to m, as n equal to m, so this is xm. And for n other than m, p is non-zero. So this summation, in the summation, all terms other than n equal to m become 0, and the term becomes non-zero and equals to pi in case of n equal to m. So answer is xm. So what is the end result of all this discussion, which is simply mentioned in a single sentence in the book, that the inverse DTFT formula, what is the with what we started? We started what we wanted, that we in the inverse formula, that the function g omega comma m should be selected such that we are able to get single value. So xm we got as x omega integration minus pi to pi g of omega comma m d omega, that is equal to, we proved that for g omega comma m equal to g omega comma m equal to 1 upon 2 pi e raised to j omega m, we get this. So and the 2 pi comes outside because it's constant. So 1 upon 2 pi integration of minus pi to pi x omega e raised to j omega m d omega. So this is xm. Then there is no need now, once everything is derived, you can use n also. Why we did not use n? Because we wanted that this was having n variable. So again same variable can be used for two purposes. Therefore this is, so once this formula is derived, when this whole formula is derived, in the book you will find that the formula is, so now it is immaterial, that it is just an index, any index you can use. So xn is equal to 1 upon 2 pi minus pi to pi x omega e raised to j omega n d omega, that is the inverse. And what is the basic formula? Basic formula is x omega is equal to summation n equal to minus infinity to infinity x n e raised to minus j omega n. So this is DTFT, this is inverse DTFT. Now why minus here and plus here? Because if you are in India, you go by left lane, if you are in US, you go by right lane. So somehow that the Fourier might have thought that in same thing is there for continuous Fourier transform also, that in the transform I should use negative and in the inverse I should use positive. So we conclude this session by explicitly writing the formulae. First, transform x omega is equal to summation n equal to minus infinity to infinity x n e raised to minus j omega n. So it is transform of x omega, which is a continuous periodic function. I again repeat because each and every word is important. X omega, which is a continuous periodic function, is the weighted sum of the original sequence. I again repeat, x of omega is a continuous periodic function, is weighted sum of original sequence. You listen and at the same time you give attention to my pointer, that is the pen I am using. X of omega, which is a continuous periodic function, is weighted sum of original sequence. And the next is inverse transform. Xn is equal to 1 upon 2 pi, it is just a weight is coming from minus pi to pi x omega e raised to j omega n d omega. So, I again repeat now, the discrete sequence xn, is scaled integration of periodic continuous function. I again repeat, the discrete it is Fourier transform. From discrete sequence we found out a continuous but periodic function. Now from that continuous but periodic function, this indicates period in interval. So the scaled integration of continuous periodic function x omega is the discrete sequence xn. So from xn we could find x omega, from x omega we could find xn. So this is the what we can say discrete time Fourier transform and its inverse. Now where this discrete time Fourier transform is, why we do that? Because the transform domain gives me some kind of easiness in some situations. Remember, in transform we neither add anything nor we remove anything, because if we have done that, invertibility would not have remained. So even though we are not adding or removing anything, it is what is transform? I will give an example. It is said in your various HR expertise or some kind of HR tips. What is the difference between normal person and smart person? Whether the smart person does different things? No, it is said that he does the things differently. So in original discrete sequence and its DTFT, is there any new thing? No, not at all. DTFT does not include any new information, but DTFT presents the same information in different form, and when it presents in different form, the presentation contents are no doubt important, but along with the contents the manner of presentation is equally important, and the transforms which we take for different purposes in our systems are meeting the same purpose. So discrete time Fourier transform gives when you have xn, we know single values for every n, whereas in DTFT we know value for different omegas. Now it's a very interesting thing, n can be infinite, but omega is finite now, because after 2 pi it is repeating, after 2 pi. Are you getting me? How you can say, I said that xn and x omega, it is invertible. So information contained here is all contained here. So this n ranges from minus infinity to infinity. What is the range of omega? Omega, you could say no, it ranges from minus infinity to infinity, but no point. Why? Because after 2 pi it is repeating. So omega is ranging only from minus pi to pi. Then how information contained in these infinite samples is contained in the finite range of omega? The key is, even though it is infinite, it is integer, n equal to 0, 1, 2, 3, minus 1, minus 2, minus 3. And even though it is finite, it is continuous. So, from minus pi to pi, you again get infinite points of omega. Omega is continuous, n is discrete. So, the samples are infinite, these are countably infinite. 0th sample, first sample, second sample, third sample, fourth sample, minus 1 sample, minus 2 sample, and so on. So, we have countable infinite samples in discrete sequence, whereas x omega, what do we have? Omega is finite, because even though it is infinite, it repeats, so it is of no use. So, a single interval of omega, it is a finite interval, but in finite interval, how many points are there for omega? Infinite. Why? Because it is continuous. Only thing is that uncountable infinity. So, countable infinity, first, second, third, fourth, fifth, it goes completely range. And this now omega from minus pi to pi, but it takes all points. It takes all points. So, points are infinite again, which you can't count. So, countable infinite points are there in given sequence, uncountable infinite points are there in the transformed continuous function. An infinite length discrete sequence is transformed into a continuous but periodic function for a finite period of minus pi to pi or any range of 2 pi. So, I think that with this what I feel is I tried my level best to simplify the things. It is for you to take it further. So, in the next lecture, we will take some examples of discrete time Fourier transform and finding its inverse. Then we will discuss some properties of discrete time Fourier transform, and then we will try to apply the concept of discrete time Fourier transform in study of discrete time systems. Okay, we can